My name is Flynn Carter, and I was 27 years old when my parents decided my love life needed a corporate intervention. I worked at Sterling Innovations, one of the fastest growing tech companies in New York. I wasn't an executive. I wasn't the guy making millions, and I wasn't someone who walked into meetings expecting people to move aside. I was just a young employee who worked hard, stayed late, and tried to build a career without using my family's connections. That was exactly why I didn't understand what happened that Monday morning. I was sitting at my desk reviewing a project report when my phone started vibrating. Mom. I stared at the screen for a few seconds before answering. Hey, Mom. Flynn, are you busy? I looked at the dozens of emails waiting for me. Actually, yes. I'm at work. That's perfect, she said. I frowned. Perfect. Yes. We're coming to see you. I immediately sat up. Wait. Coming where? Your office. My stomach dropped. Mom, why would you come to my office? There was a pause. Then she said the words I already knew I didn't want to hear. We found someone for you to meet. I closed my eyes. No. Flynn. No, Mom. I know that tone. Absolutely not. You're 27, not 17. You can't avoid relationships forever. I'm not avoiding relationships. I'm focusing on my career. That's what you always say. Because it's true. My mother sighed dramatically. Your father and I are worried about you. Worried about me? Yes. You work too much, you come home alone, and you act like you don't need anyone. I leaned back in my chair. Mom, I don't need a blind date arranged like I'm a character in an old movie. You'll thank me later. I won't. You will. Mom. The call ended. I stared at my phone. That was my mother's favorite move. She didn't argue. She just decided she had won. I should have known she was serious. 20 minutes later, the entire office knew my parents had arrived. My assistant, Emily, appeared beside my desk with the most amused expression I had ever seen. Flynn. I looked up. Please tell me they're not here. She pressed her lips together, trying not to laugh. Your parents are in the lobby. I covered my face with my hand. Oh no. They brought something. What? Emily hesitated. A folder. I already knew. A folder. She nodded. Looks like a presentation. I stood up. You're kidding. I wish I was. I walked toward the lobby, and there they were. My parents. My father, David Carter, stood proudly in his jacket, holding a coffee in one hand and a folder in the other. My mother, Linda, looked happier than she had any right to be. The moment she saw me, she smiled. There he is. I lowered my voice. Mom, what are you doing? She hugged me. Helping you. I didn't ask for help. You never do. My father opened the folder. Son, just listen. I looked down. A woman's photo. Her name. Her job. Her hobbies. Even her favorite restaurants. I looked back at them. You made her resume for a date? My father shrugged. Modern problems require modern solutions. I couldn't believe this was happening. Dad, I work here. We know. You brought a blind date profile to my workplace. Yes. In front of my coworkers. My mother smiled. Maybe some pressure is good. I lowered my voice. Mom, please. But she wasn't backing down. She's a great girl, Flynn. She has a good family, a good career, and she's looking for someone serious. I'm not looking. That's the problem. I took a breath. I appreciate that you care, but I'm not going to meet someone because you decided I should. My father's expression changed. You're making a mistake. No, I'm making my own choice. The conversation was getting louder. A few employees nearby started looking over. I hated that. Not because I was embarrassed by my parents. Because I hated looking like someone who couldn't control his own life. Then a voice cut through the lobby. Is there a reason my employee is being interviewed for marriage during business hours? Everyone froze. I turned around. Sophia Bennett, the CEO of Sterling Innovations. The woman who could silence an entire conference room with one sentence. She walked toward us with her usual calm expression. Sophia was known throughout the company as the Ice Queen. Brilliant. Unreachable. Impossible to read. Most employees were afraid to even make eye contact with her. My parents immediately straightened. Ms. Bennett, my father said. Sophia glanced at the folder in his hand. Then at me. Then back at my parents. I'm assuming this is not a business proposal. My mother smiled politely. We're Flynn's parents. I know. That surprised me. You know? Sophia looked at me briefly. I know who works for me. There was something about the way she said it that made my heart beat slightly faster. My mother smiled. We're just trying to help Flynn find someone. Sophia looked at the folder. A blind date. Yes. My father nodded. He's been too focused on work. Sophia was silent for a moment. Then she said something that made everyone around us stop moving. He's already taken. I stared at her. My parents stared at her. Even Emily looked like she forgot how to breathe. What? I whispered. Sophia turned toward me. Her expression remained calm. He's already taken. My mother blinked. Taken by who? Sophia stepped closer. Then she looked directly at me. By someone who knows his value. My entire mind went blank. Because there was only one problem. I wasn't dating anyone. And Sophia Bennett knew that. Or at least, I thought she did. My father cleared his throat. Flynn. I couldn't answer. Sophia looked at my parents again. I hope that clears things up. My mother looked between us. You two are together? The entire lobby became silent. I waited for Sophia to correct her. To say it was a misunderstanding. To say she was only protecting an employee. But she didn't. She simply reached out and took my arm. Yes. My heart nearly stopped. Yes. Sophia looked at me. And for the first time since I had known her, I saw something different in her eyes. Not coldness. Not distance. Something warmer. Something I couldn't explain. She leaned slightly closer and whispered so only I could hear. Trust me for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That was all she asked. But those 5 minutes changed everything I thought I knew about my ice-cold CEO. I had spent the last 3 years working under Sophia Bennett. 3 years. Long enough to know her habits. Long enough to know she never smiled during meetings. Long enough to know she never mixed her personal life with business. And definitely long enough to know one thing. Sophia Bennett did not lie. So when she stood in front of my parents and said I was already taken, my brain couldn't process it. Because I wasn't. At least, I wasn't aware that I was. My mother looked between Sophia and me, completely stunned. Flynn. I forced myself to breathe. Mom. She pointed at Sophia. Is this true? Before I could answer, Sophia calmly said. Yes. My eyes widened. She didn't even hesitate. My father looked impressed but suspicious. For how long? Sophia looked at me. I swear she enjoyed watching me panic. Then she answered. Long enough. I almost choked. Long enough? What did that even mean? My mother smiled. Not the angry smile. The dangerous one. The one that meant she was already planning our wedding. Oh my goodness. Mom, don't. I knew there was something. There wasn't. Sophia glanced at me. Flynn. I stopped. The way she said my name was quiet, but somehow everyone heard it. My father raised an eyebrow. You two seem close. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Because technically we weren't. Sophia was my CEO. I was her employee. That was it. At least, that was what I believed. Then Sophia did something I never expected. She smiled. Just slightly. Flynn is very private. My mother immediately nodded. Yes, that sounds like him. He doesn't like people knowing his personal business. My mother looked at me. That is also true. I stared at Sophia. She was building a story so naturally that even my own parents were starting to believe it. I leaned closer and whispered, What are you doing? Without looking at me, she whispered back, Helping you. You're telling my parents we're dating. Yes. We're not dating. I'm aware. Then why? She finally looked at me. Because your parents came to your workplace to force you into something you don't want. Her voice became colder. And I don't like watching people take choices away from others. For a second, I didn't know what to say. Because that sounded exactly like Sophia. She wasn't someone who saved people because she wanted praise. She did it because she hated unfairness. Still, this is a little extreme. She looked at me. So was bringing a blind date folder to your office? I had no argument. My mother suddenly stepped forward. Sophia, we're sorry if this was uncomfortable. Sophia turned to her. It wasn't. Then she looked at me. Flynn is capable of making his own decisions. My father nodded slowly. I agree with that. I looked at him. Dad. He shrugged. What? She's right. My mother crossed her arms. But I still want to know. I immediately felt nervous. Know what? She smiled. When did you two start? I froze. Sophia didn't. Several months ago. Several months? I looked at her. She ignored me. My mother's eyes widened. Several months. Yes. And you didn't tell us? Sophia looked at me. He wanted to keep it private. My mother turned to me. Flynn. I panicked. Mom, it's complicated. Sophia nodded. It is. I almost laughed, because that was the biggest understatement I had ever heard. My CEO had just announced a fake relationship in the middle of the company lobby. Nothing about this was simple. After another 10 minutes of conversation, my parents finally agreed to leave. But before they left, my mother hugged me. "I'm happy for you." I forced a smile. "Thanks." Then she hugged Sophia too. That shocked both of us. "Take care of him." Sophia paused. Then she answered softly, "I will." My parents left. The moment the elevator doors closed, I turned around. What was that? Sophia walked toward the executive elevators. Problem solved. Problem solved. Yes. You just told my parents we're together. Yes. Without asking me. She stopped, then looked back. You needed help. I could have handled it. She raised an eyebrow. Your solution was arguing with them in front of 50 employees. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Because again, she was right. Sophia pressed the elevator button. I followed. Why do you care? The question came out before I could stop it. She looked at me. What? Why do you care about my personal life? For the first time, Sophia didn't answer immediately. The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside. Then she said, "Because you're one of the few people in this company who never asked me for anything." I frowned. What does that mean? She looked at me. Everyone wants something from me. Her voice lowered. Money, promotions, connections. A pause. But you just do your job. I didn't know how to respond. Sophia looked away. That's rare. The elevator doors began closing. Then she suddenly added, "Also." I looked at her. She hesitated. Only for a second. But I saw it. The hesitation. The crack in the Ice Queen's armor. "I don't want you going on a date with someone your parents picked." The doors closed, leaving me standing there completely confused. Because for the first time, I wasn't wondering why Sophia Bennett helped me. I was wondering, why did she care who I dated? For the rest of the day, I couldn't focus. Not because of my workload. Not because of my meetings. Because every time I looked at my phone, I saw the same question from my mother. When were you going to tell us about Sophia? I stared at the message for almost 5 minutes. Because I had no idea what to say. How was I supposed to explain that the woman my parents thought was my girlfriend was actually my CEO, who had saved me from an awkward blind date? There was no normal answer. I typed, "It's complicated." Then deleted it. Typed again. There was a misunderstanding. Deleted that too. Finally, I just put my phone down. Great, I whispered. I had somehow ended up in a fake relationship with the most intimidating woman in the company. And I didn't even know the rules. A few minutes later, my office phone rang. I looked at the screen. Sophia's assistant. I picked up. Flynn Carter speaking. "Mr. Carter, Ms. Bennett would like to see you." My stomach tightened. Now? Yes. Of course. When the CEO wanted to talk, you didn't ask why. You just went. I walked to the executive floor and knocked on her office door. "Come in." I entered. Sophia was sitting behind her desk, reviewing documents. She didn't look up. Close the door. That sentence alone made me nervous. I closed it, then stood there, waiting. Finally, she looked up. "You're angry." I blinked. "I'm not angry. You're standing 3 feet away from my desk like I'm about to fire you." I looked down. Maybe I was. "Sorry." She leaned back. "Sit." I sat. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then I said, So, we need to talk about what happened." Sophia nodded. "I expected this. You told my parents we're dating." "Yes." "Why?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she asked, "Did you want to go on that date?" "No." "Did your parents listen when you said no?" I stayed quiet. "Because they didn't." Sophia nodded. "That's why." "That's it. That's enough." I looked at her. "You don't usually do things without a reason." She smiled slightly. "You've been paying attention." I froze. Because Sophia Bennett rarely complimented anyone. Especially not me. "I pay attention to my job." "No." She shook her head. "You pay attention to people." I didn't know what to say. She opened a drawer and took out a small notebook. Then she placed it on the desk. "What's that?" "Your schedule." I frowned. "My schedule." "Your mother will probably call again." I stared. "You made a plan?" "Yes." "You made a plan for pretending to be my girlfriend?" She corrected me. "Pretending to be your girlfriend temporarily." The difference somehow felt important. I looked at the notebook. Inside were simple notes. Things like family questions, possible meetings, boundaries. I looked at her. "You really thought this through." I don't like unfinished problems. I laughed quietly. Am I a problem now? Sophia looked at me. No. The answer came too quickly. For some reason, that surprised me. No. No. She paused. You're a situation. I raised an eyebrow. That sounds worse. It isn't. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Then she said, your parents will probably want to meet me. I sighed. You're right. And they will probably ask questions. Yes. And they may try to test me. I laughed. My mom definitely will. Sophia nodded. Then we need to prepare. I looked at her. You're really willing to do this? Yes. Why? Again, that question. Again, I needed an answer. Sophia looked away. I told you. No, you didn't. She was silent. Then she said, because I want to. That answer confused me more. You want to? Yes. Why? She looked directly at me. Because when you needed help, you didn't ask anyone. Her voice became softer. You just accepted being uncomfortable because you didn't want to bother others. I looked at her. That was exactly what I did. At work. With friends. Even with family. I always handled things myself. Sophia continued. I noticed. Those two words hit harder than they should have. Because no one really noticed. People noticed my results. My work. My mistakes. But not me. I looked away. So what happens now? Sophia stood up. Now. She walked around the desk. Now we convince your parents. Convince them what? She stopped in front of me. That you're happy. I smiled. Even though we're not actually together? She looked at me. And for a second, I thought I saw something change in her expression. Something almost like disappointment. Then it disappeared. Correct. I stood up. Okay. As I reached the door, she called my name. Flynn. I turned. Yes. She hesitated. Then said, one more thing. What? Don't call me Ms. Bennett outside work. I was surprised. What should I call you? She looked at me. Sophia. I nodded. Okay, Sophia. The moment I said her name, something strange happened. Her expression changed. Just slightly. Like hearing her name from me meant something different. Then she looked away. See you tomorrow. I left her office. But as I walked back to my desk, one thought kept repeating in my mind. Sophia Bennett had protected me. She had lied for me. She had created a plan just to help me escape a date I didn't want. And the strangest part was, I wasn't worried about pretending to be her boyfriend. I was worried that someday, the pretending would end. The next morning, I walked into Sterling Innovations expecting everything to feel awkward. I was wrong. It felt worse. Everyone knew. Not because anyone said anything directly. Because everyone suddenly became extremely interested in my coffee order, my schedule, and where I was going. That was how office gossip worked. Nobody asked the question. Everyone waited for someone else to ask it first. I had barely sat down when my coworker Jason rolled his chair over. So, I didn't look up. No. He laughed. I didn't even say anything. You were about to. Jason leaned closer. Are you actually dating Sophia Bennett? I sighed. Why is everyone asking me that? Because yesterday the CEO walked into the lobby, grabbed your arm, and told your parents you were taken. I looked at him. When you say it like that, it sounds worse. Because it is. I rubbed my forehead. Jason. Okay. I'm just saying, this is the biggest thing that happened here since the company went public. I returned to my computer. It's complicated. Jason smiled. That's the most suspicious answer possible. Before I could respond, my assistant Emily walked over. Flynn. I looked up. Yes. Meeting room 3. Now. My expression changed. Who? She lowered her voice. The executive team. My stomach tightened. The executive team? She nodded. And Sophia requested you personally. That was not normal. I immediately stood up. The executive team meeting was usually for department heads, managers, and directors. Not someone like me. When I entered the room, everyone was already there. Sophia sat at the end of the table. Her expression was unreadable. Next to her were the company's senior executives, including Richard Blake, the vice president of operations. Richard had never liked me. Not because I did anything wrong. Because I was young. And because Sophia trusted my work. Some people hated that. I sat down. Richard immediately spoke. Flynn, we need to discuss the security issue. I frowned. What security issue? He pushed a document across the table. Last night, some internal project files were accessed from an unauthorized account. I looked at the papers. My name was there. My heart sank. What? Richard crossed his arms. The access came from someone in your department. I looked at Sophia. She was watching me carefully. Are you accusing me? Richard shook his head. I'm saying we need answers. I looked through the report. The account information. The timestamps. Something didn't feel right. I didn't access these files. Richard nodded. That's what everyone says. The room became silent. I hated that feeling. The feeling of being judged before proving anything. Then Sophia spoke. Enough. Everyone stopped. Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Richard looked at her. Sophia, we're following procedure. No. She looked at the report. You're following suspicion. Richard frowned. The evidence points toward his department. It points toward an employee account being compromised. She looked directly at him. Not Flynn. I was surprised. She didn't hesitate. She didn't even consider another possibility. Richard leaned forward. Sophia, you're defending him because. The room froze. Because everyone knew what he was about to say. Sophia's eyes turned cold. Finish that sentence. Richard stopped. Smart decision. Sophia continued. His personal relationship with me has nothing to do with this investigation. Everyone looked down. But I noticed something. She didn't deny it. She didn't say there was no relationship. She simply said it didn't matter. Richard cleared his throat. We still need to investigate. Of course. Sophia nodded. But until then, Flynn remains on the project. Richard looked surprised. You're keeping him? Yes. Even with this suspicion? Sophia leaned forward. Especially with this suspicion. The room went silent. Then she said, because unlike some people, I don't abandon my employees when things become difficult. Nobody spoke. I felt something in my chest. Because I wasn't used to someone standing beside me like that. After the meeting ended, I stayed behind. Sophia noticed. You wanted to talk. I nodded. Why did you do that? She looked confused. Do what? Defend me. She picked up a document. Because I believe you. That's it. Yes. I stared at her. You didn't even ask me if I did it. No. Why? She looked at me. Because I know you. Those words hit differently. You know me? Yes. How? She placed the document down. Because for the past 3 years, you've been the person who stays late when nobody asks you to. She continued. You're the person who fixes mistakes that aren't yours. She paused. And you're the person who refuses credit when someone else worked hard. I didn't know what to say. Sophia Bennett noticed things. Small things. Things I never thought anyone saw. I looked away. You shouldn't risk your position for me. Her expression changed. Who said I'm risking anything? People already think I'm only here because of you. She stepped closer. Flynn. I looked at her. Never let someone convince you that your achievements belong to someone else. For a moment, I forgot she was my CEO. She didn't sound like a boss. She sounded like someone who genuinely cared. Then my phone rang. My mother. I looked at the screen. Sophia noticed. Your parents. I nodded. She smiled slightly. Answer. Here. Yes. I hesitated. Then answered. Hey, Mom. Her voice immediately came through. Flynn, Sophia is coming to dinner tonight, right? I froze. I slowly looked at Sophia. She raised an eyebrow. What? I covered the phone. My mother invited you to dinner. Sophia looked at me. Then, without hesitation, she said, tell her I'll be there. My eyes widened. You're serious? She smiled. A rare, almost invisible smile. Yes. I put the phone back. Mom. Yes. Sophia said she'll come. My mother screamed so loudly I had to move the phone away. After hanging up, I stared at Sophia. You realize what you just agreed to? Yes. You're meeting my parents. Yes. They're going to ask questions. I know. They're going to judge you. Sophia picked up her jacket. Good. I blinked. Good. She looked at me. Because I want them to understand something. What? She walked past me. That I didn't choose you because you're my employee. She stopped at the door. I chose you because you're Flynn. Then she left. And for the first time, I wondered if this fake relationship was becoming dangerous. Not because my parents believed it, but because I was starting to. I spent the entire drive to my parents' house trying to convince myself this was just an act. A performance. A temporary solution. That was all. Sophia Bennett was my CEO. I was her employee. She was helping me because she hated seeing people pressured into decisions they didn't want. That was the logical explanation. But then I remembered the way she defended me in the meeting. The way she said, I know you. And suddenly, Logic became much harder to believe. You're quiet. Sophia's voice pulled me back. I looked over. She was driving, calm as always. I'm thinking. About. I hesitated. About how strange this is. She nodded. It is. You're not nervous? No. I laughed. Of course you're not. She glanced at me. Should I be? You're about to meet my parents. I've faced investors who wanted to remove me from my own company. She paused. Your mother cannot be more intimidating than them. I smiled. You haven't met my mother. For the first time, Sophia actually looked slightly concerned. That made me laugh. Wait. What? Are you nervous? No. You hesitated. I was calculating. Calculating. Yes. I looked at her. You're calculating how dangerous my mother is? Yes. I laughed. And somehow, that small moment felt more natural than anything else that had happened between us. When we arrived, my parents were already waiting outside. My mother opened the door before we even reached it. Sophia. I looked at Sophia. She knows your name already? Sophia looked at me. Your mother called me 3 times today. I stopped walking. She did what? Sophia calmly said. She wanted to know my favorite food. I covered my face. Mom. My mother hugged Sophia like they had known each other for years. Come in, sweetheart. I stood there, completely confused. My father walked over and shook Sophia's hand. Welcome. Thank you for having me. My mother looked between us. I still can't believe Flynn kept you secret. I immediately responded. Mom. What? You're making this weird. She smiled. I'm just happy. Sophia looked at me. Your mother is very honest. I whispered. You have no idea. Dinner started normally. For about 5 minutes. Then my mother began. So, Sophia. I knew that tone. The interrogation had begun. Yes. How did you two meet? I nearly dropped my fork. Sophia answered smoothly. At work. My mother smiled. That's what I expected. My father nodded. She's your boss. Yes. My mother looked at me. Flynn, how did you convince your CEO to date you? I almost choked. Mom. Sophia surprised me by answering. He didn't. Everyone looked at her. She continued. I noticed him first. Silence. I stared at her. Because that was not part of the plan. My mother's eyes widened. You did. Sophia nodded. Flynn never tried to impress me. My father smiled. That sounds like him. He never asked for special treatment. Sophia looked at me. He never acted differently because of my position. I didn't know why those words affected me. Maybe because they were true. Most people changed around Sophia. They became nervous, careful, desperate to please. I never did. Not because I was brave. Because I honestly just saw her as a person. My mother softened. That's why you like him. Sophia was quiet. Then she said, yes. One word. But it sounded real. After dinner, my mother pulled me into the kitchen. Immediately, I knew something was coming. She's different. I sighed. Mom. No, listen. She lowered her voice. She looks at you differently. I froze. What does that mean? My mother smiled. It means I don't think this is fake. My heart skipped. What? She shrugged. I've watched you for 27 years, Flynn. I know when someone is pretending. I didn't answer. Because that scared me. Not because my mother was wrong. Because I wasn't sure she was. Later that night, after dinner, Sophia and I walked outside. The moment we were away from my parents, I spoke. You didn't have to say those things. She looked at me. What things? That you noticed me first. She was quiet. Then she said, but I did. I stopped. Sophia looked ahead. You think I'm only helping you because of your parents. Aren't you? No. The answer came immediately. I looked at her. Then why? She took a breath. For someone who controlled billion-dollar negotiations without hesitation, she suddenly seemed unsure. I don't know. That surprised me. You don't know? No. She looked at me. And that bothers me. Why? Because I usually understand my decisions. A small smile appeared. But with you, she shook her head. I don't always understand. The silence between us felt different. Not uncomfortable. Just full of things neither of us was saying. Then my phone rang. I looked down. It was work. Richard. I answered. Hello. His voice sounded serious. Flynn, we found something. My expression changed. What? The security breach. I looked at Sophia. What about it? A pause. Then Richard said, the access wasn't from your department. I relaxed slightly. Then whose was it? Another pause. The executive floor. My eyes narrowed. What? Richard lowered his voice. Flynn, someone with high-level access, tried to frame you. I looked at Sophia, and suddenly, the situation became much bigger than I expected. Because if someone inside the company was trying to destroy me, they weren't just attacking an employee. They were challenging Sophia Bennett. And I had a feeling. Whoever started this fight didn't understand one thing. Sophia didn't protect people halfway. When she chose someone, she chose them completely. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because of the security issue. Not even because someone inside Sterling Innovations had tried to frame me. It was because of one sentence Sophia had said. I noticed you first. I kept replaying it. Over and over. Because Sophia Bennett wasn't the type of person who said things without meaning them. She didn't make emotional decisions. She didn't act impulsively. Everything about her was controlled. Calculated. So if she said she noticed me, I had to wonder how long she had been paying attention. The next morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual. I wanted to review the security records before the executive team meeting. But when I reached my desk, I found something unexpected. A coffee cup. My favorite order. No sugar. Extra shot. I stared at it. Then Emily walked past. Morning, Flynn. I pointed at the coffee. Did you get this? She shook her head. No. Then who did? She smiled. You know exactly who. I looked toward the executive floor. There was no note. No message. Nothing obvious. But somehow I knew. Sophia. I walked into the meeting room 10 minutes later. The entire executive team was already there. Richard was standing near the screen. Sophia sat at the end of the table. The moment I entered, she looked at me. Not at the documents. Not at the presentation. At me. You're early. I nodded. So are you. A few executives exchanged looks. They noticed. Everyone noticed everything about Sophia, especially when she treated someone differently. Richard cleared his throat. Can we focus on the investigation? Sophia looked at him. Yes. The screen changed. A timeline appeared. The unauthorized access. The account information. The evidence. Richard pointed. The person who accessed the files used executive-level credentials. Everyone became quiet. Sophia's expression didn't change. But I knew her enough now to see the difference. She was angry. Not loudly. Not emotionally. Quietly. And that was more dangerous. Who had access? She asked. Richard hesitated. Only 6 people. Names. He listed them. Senior executives. Department heads. People who had worked with Sophia for years. Then Richard added. And Flynn. I frowned. What? Richard looked at me. Your temporary access was upgraded last month. I looked at Sophia. She nodded. He was assigned to the new project. I understood. Someone had used my access to make it look like I was involved. Sophia folded her hands. Continue. Richard changed the screen. We found another piece of information. A file appeared. My eyes narrowed. What is that? Richard looked uncomfortable. A message. From who? We don't know. The message appeared. It was short, but the meaning was clear. Remove Flynn Carter before he becomes a problem. The room went silent. I felt my chest tighten. Not because someone wanted me gone. Because someone thought I was important enough to be a threat. Richard looked at Sophia. This may be connected to your decision to bring Flynn into higher-level projects. Everyone knew what he meant. They thought I was only getting opportunities because of Sophia. And now someone wanted to use that against me. Before I could say anything, Sophia spoke. Flynn earned his position. Her voice was cold. He didn't receive anything. Richard replied. I'm not saying that. Yes, you are. The room became silent. Sophia continued. You're implying that his success exists because of me. Nobody responded. Because she was right. Then she said something I never expected. If that is the company's belief. She stood. Then the company has a bigger problem than a security leak. My eyes widened. Sophia. She ignored me. You hired people who judge employees by who supports them instead of what they achieve. Nobody moved. I had never seen her like this. Not angry. Not defensive. Protective. After the meeting ended, I followed her into her office. Sophia. She stopped. What? You can't do that. She turned. Do what? Risk your position because of me. Her expression changed. You still think this is about protecting you, isn't it? No. She walked closer. It's about protecting what's right. I looked at her. You always say that. Because it's true. I shook my head. You don't understand. Understand what? People already think I'm here because of you. She stared at me. And you believe them? No. Then why do you care? I didn't answer. Because the truth was embarrassing. I cared because I didn't want Sophia to lose anything because of me. I cared because her opinion mattered. Too much. She noticed my silence. Her voice softened. Flynn. I looked up. You're not a burden. I froze. Because that was exactly what I had been afraid of. Sophia continued. You think because I'm powerful, I don't need anyone. She smiled slightly. That's wrong. I didn't know what to say. Then she surprised me. I need people I can trust. A pause. And I trust you. For a moment, everything else disappeared. The company, the investigation, the fake relationship, all of it. There was just Sophia standing in front of me. Not as my CEO, as a woman who was finally letting someone see behind the wall she had built. Then there was a knock. The door opened. Emily looked nervous. Sorry to interrupt. Sophia turned. What happened? Emily looked at me. Your parents are here. I blinked. My parents. She nodded. They said they need to talk to Flynn. I looked at Sophia. She immediately understood. Something was wrong. Because my parents didn't come to my office twice in 1 week unless something serious happened. Sophia picked up her jacket. I'll come with you. I shook my head. No. She looked at me. Why? Because this time, I should handle it. She studied me for a moment. Then nodded. Okay. I was surprised. You're not arguing? No. Why? A small smile appeared. Because I know you. Those 4 words again. But this time, they felt different. I walked out to meet my parents. I didn't know what they wanted. I didn't know what they had discovered. But I knew one thing. Whatever happened next, my life was no longer the same. Because somewhere between a fake relationship and a simple act of kindness, Sophia Bennett had become the person I trusted most. When I walked into the lobby, I immediately knew something was wrong. My parents weren't smiling. That was the first thing I noticed. Usually, my mother would walk into my office like she owned the place, asking questions and giving advice I never requested. But this time, she looked serious. My father stood beside her with his arms crossed. Flynn. I walked over. Mom. Dad. What happened? My mother looked past me. At Sophia's office. Then back at me. We need to talk. I already knew this wasn't going to be a simple conversation. About what? My father answered. About Sophia. I froze slightly. What about her? My mother lowered her voice. We found out something. My heart tightened. What? She looked uncomfortable. People are talking. I almost laughed. People are always talking. No, Flynn. Her expression became serious. They're saying you're only with her because she's the CEO. I went silent. Because I had heard those whispers too. In the office. In the hallways. People didn't say it directly. They didn't need to. Everyone knew. The young employee dating the powerful CEO. Most people assumed there had to be a reason. My father sighed. We're not accusing you. But we don't want you getting hurt. I looked at them. You think she's going to hurt me? My mother shook her head. I think the world around her might. That sentence surprised me. Because for the first time, I realized my parents weren't trying to control me. They were worried. But before I could answer, another voice interrupted. He's right to worry. I turned. Sophia. She was standing behind me. I didn't know how long she had been there. My mother looked surprised. Sophia. Sophia walked forward. Calm. Confident. But I noticed something. She wasn't acting like the CEO now. She was acting like someone who cared. I heard enough. I immediately stepped forward. Sophia. She looked at me. It's okay. Then she faced my parents. You're right about one thing. My father looked confused. What? Sophia continued. Being close to me makes Flynn's life more complicated. The honesty surprised everyone. She didn't deny it. She didn't pretend everything was perfect. Instead, she admitted the hardest part. But you're wrong about another thing. My mother looked at her. What? Sophia looked at me. Then said, Flynn is not with me because of what I have. The lobby became quiet. He's not impressed by my company. She paused. He's not interested in my money. Her eyes stayed on me. And he never once treated me like I was above him. I felt my throat tighten. Because that was exactly how I saw her. Not as a CEO. Not as someone untouchable. Just Sophia. My father studied her carefully. And what does he mean to you? That question surprised me. Even Sophia paused. For the first time, she looked uncertain. Then she answered. He reminds me that I'm more than my position. Nobody spoke. She continued. Everyone around me wants something. Her voice became quieter. But Flynn never did. My mother looked at me, then at her. I could see the change in her expression. She believed her. Then suddenly, another voice came from behind us. Interesting. I turned. Richard Blake, along with two other executives. My heart sank. This was not good. Richard looked at Sophia. So this is where your priorities are now. Sophia's expression immediately changed. The CEO was back. Excuse me. Richard smiled. The entire company is watching you defend one employee. My fists tightened. This was exactly what I feared. Sophia stepped forward. Choose your next words carefully. Richard ignored the warning. The board is already concerned. Everyone went silent. The CEO protecting an employee she's personally involved with creates a conflict. I looked at Sophia. This was the moment. The moment everyone had been waiting for. Would she step back? Would she distance herself from me to protect her position? For 1 second, I thought maybe she would, because that was the logical choice. The smart choice. Then Sophia did something nobody expected. She walked directly toward me and stood beside me. Not behind me. Beside me. Richard's expression changed. Sophia. She looked at him. Flynn's work will be judged by his results. Her voice was firm. Not by rumors. Richard shook his head. You're risking your company. No. She looked around at everyone. I'm protecting the values this company was built on. Nobody spoke. Then she said the words I would never forget. If someone thinks Flynn only belongs here because of me. She paused. Then they don't know him. My heart stopped for a moment. Because she wasn't just defending my job. She was defending who I was. After Richard and the executives left, I stood there silently. Finally, I said, you didn't have to do that. Sophia looked at me. Yes, I did. You could lose everything. No. She shook her head. I could lose a position. A pause. But I won't lose myself. I didn't know what to say. Then she looked away. I'm sorry. I frowned. For what? For making your life more complicated. I stepped closer. Sophia. She looked at me. You didn't make my life complicated. I smiled slightly. You made my life interesting. For the first time, she laughed. A real laugh. Small. Quiet. But real. And that was the moment I realized something. The woman everyone called the Ice Queen wasn't cold. She was just waiting for someone she could trust. That night, when I got home, I received a message. From Sophia. Only 4 words. Thank you for choosing me. I stared at the screen. Because I had never told her that. I had never said I chose her. But somehow, she already knew. And maybe that was the most dangerous part. Because this was no longer a fake relationship. Not to me. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Not because I had an important meeting. Not because I was worried about the investigation. Because I couldn't stop thinking about Sophia's message. Thank you for choosing me. 4 words. Simple. But they stayed in my mind all night. Because the truth was, I had never chosen Sophia Bennett. Not officially. Not out loud. But somewhere along the way, I had. I chose to trust her. I chose to stand beside her. And somewhere between pretending to be her boyfriend and protecting each other, the line between fake and real disappeared. When I arrived at Sterling Innovations, the atmosphere was different. People still talked. But now, they talked differently. Before, they whispered because they thought I was lucky. Now, they whispered because they respected me. The investigation had revealed the truth. The person who tried to frame me was a senior manager named Daniel Cross. He had been secretly selling company information to a competitor and used my account because he thought nobody would question the CEO's young employee. He was wrong. Very wrong. Sophia didn't just clear my name. She made sure everyone knew the truth. But the biggest surprise came when I entered the conference room. The board was there, and Sophia was standing at the front. I immediately became nervous. Sophia? She looked at me. Sit down, Flynn. I sat. The chairman of the board, Mr. Anderson, looked at me. Flynn, we owe you an apology. I was surprised. For what? For assuming your success was connected to your relationship with Sophia. I looked at Sophia. She didn't react. The chairman continued. The investigation proved that your work has consistently exceeded expectations. I nodded. Thank you. Then he looked at Sophia. And we also owe you an apology. That got my attention. For questioning your judgment. Sophia finally spoke. I understand why there were concerns. The chairman nodded. But we forgot something important. What? He smiled slightly. You built this company by trusting talented people before others saw their value. The room became quiet. Then the meeting ended. I waited until everyone left. Sophia stayed behind. You knew? I asked. She looked at me. Knew what? That they were going to apologize. Yes. And you didn't tell me? No. Why? She picked up her documents. Because you deserve to hear it yourself. I smiled. That sounds like you. She looked at me. What does that mean? You help people without needing credit. For a second, she said nothing. Then she looked away. That's not always a good thing. Why? Because sometimes people forget the person helping them also needs someone. I froze. Because that sounded less like a CEO talking, and more like Sophia, the woman behind the title, the woman nobody else got to see. That evening, my parents invited us to dinner again. This time, there was no pretending, no fake relationship, no plan, just us. My mother opened the door and immediately smiled. I knew it. I looked confused. Knew what? She pointed between Sophia and me. I knew something changed. I looked at Sophia. She looked at me. Neither of us answered. Because my mother was right. Something had changed. During dinner, my father asked the question everyone avoided. So what happens now? I looked at Sophia. She understood what he meant. The fake relationship. The rumors. The company. Everything. Sophia placed her glass down. Now. She looked at me. Now we stop pretending. My heart skipped. My mother smiled. My father nodded. But I needed to hear it from her. Sophia. She turned toward me. I don't want to be your fake girlfriend anymore. The room went silent. Then she continued. Because I don't want something fake. I couldn't move. Sophia Bennett, the woman who controlled billion-dollar decisions without hesitation, was looking at me like this was the hardest thing she had ever said. I know our lives are different. She continued. I know people will judge us. A pause. But I also know something. What? Her voice softened. I'm happier when I'm with you. Nobody spoke. Not because they were surprised. Because there was nothing to say. I smiled. You know, when my parents came to my office that day, I thought my life was being ruined. Sophia smiled slightly. And now? I looked at her. Now I think they accidentally introduced me to the person I was supposed to meet. For the first time, Sophia looked completely unguarded. No CEO mask. No ice queen. Just Sophia. My mother immediately grabbed my father's arm. I knew it. My father laughed. You say that about everything. Because I'm usually right. Everyone laughed. And somehow, the woman who once seemed impossible to reach was sitting beside me at my parents' dinner table. Not because she was my boss. Not because she was a CEO. Because she chose to be there. Months later, people at Sterling Innovation still talked about the day Sophia Bennett walked into the lobby and told my parents. He's already taken. They thought she was protecting an employee. They thought she was making a business decision. They were wrong. She wasn't claiming an employee. She was choosing someone. And I was the luckiest person in the world. Because the Ice Queen CEO didn't just walk into my life. She fought to stay in it.